And we're live. So hello to everyone who's currently in the chat. Critical Cripple, Santi, and of course my replacement co-host, Hissy.
Hello.
Today we are talking. Hold on. About media musings, and unfortunately, you won't be able to see Jem effing blind at me on stream. But I'm sure she'll be effing and blinding it, if she watches the replay of this, because we're talking about Interstellar and how it really proves spirit science is true. Nah, I'm just kidding.
I was going to say, that's an odd angle to take.
No, yeah, the whole reason I had the idea to do Interstellar is because Jen did a video debunking a spirit science video on how Interstellar proves that they're true. So the whole, yeah.
Only if someone didn't watch the film.
Yeah. It's like it's really it's hey Mountain Man. Okay, so yeah, that's a good first that's a good first question. Did we like Interstellar? I'll let you go first.
I literally finished watching it 5 minutes ago because Jen asked me to jump in and take over. I think like is too plain a word for my feelings about that film. It's a very complex film with very complex themes. It's not the kind of film I would watch if I wanted a happy story, because I'm feeling slightly teary.
Yeah.
But it has value and it says a lot of important things. So I think to say I like it and to say I appreciate it are two different things. It's very much like reading philosophy. You don't like reading it, but it's an important message and you have to take that message. And the message is in this film. I was not expecting to get on I'm joking, but it's that. It's very it's a complex film, and to boil it down to just do you like it or not, I think does us as an audience and does the film a disservice.
Personally, I rate it as one of the weaker Nolan films that I've seen. I prefer the Prestige. Like I prefer the Prestige and what's Inception above Interstellar personally.
See, now I was not aware that those two films, is that the same director?
Yes, they are the same director.
Of the three, my immediate gut reaction ranking is The Prestige, this, Inception.
Okay. And because, he also did the Dark Knight trilogy, but I'm kind of holding that as separate because they weren't his, they were his, I'm making these so I can make the films I want to make movies.
Yeah. I mean, that says, I think now knowing who the director is, I can understand a lot of the thematic elements of this film. Yeah. Immediately that my brain's firing off and saying, yeah, now that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it also explains why the whole thing just went wackadoodle in the last half an hour. And just the timelines went fuzzy because Nolan likes that. He loves it in Inception.
And, the whole, time dilation because of, gravity. Well,
I have no idea if that's scientifically viable or accurate. I don't really care. It's a cool concept.
I think it somewhat is. Obviously, I think think the same, principle of time dilation, as in, the faster you go, time, more times,
Yeah.
and the fact that gravity wells do distort space time. I think that it's plausible. I don't think I don't know how exactly accurate it is.
Yeah. And just I literally just googled science of Interstellar while you were talking there.
Yeah.
I mean, the special effects on it are wicked.
Yeah.
I mean, considering those special effects are 6 years
Oh
old,
yeah.
that film could be released now and you wouldn't notice the difference. And I
Yeah.
never understood wormholes and black holes until
Yeah.
I saw him pierce the piece of paper. So that's nifty.
Yeah. So though the illustration with the piece of paper is it always comes up when someone's it usually comes
Yeah.
up when someone in sci-fi is explaining how a wormhole works.
Yeah, but I'm not that deep into the sci-fi fandoms.
Yeah.
Oh, for anyone who doesn't actually know, he's my husband. This is
Yeah.
why I say I know he knows things about me that maybe other people don't.
Yes.
So that's just to get that out the way.
Yeah. Oh, wrong arm. And yeah, wedding band.
Wedding band. Mine's under my watch right now.
Yeah.
I keep it safe under there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at this and it seems to me like, and that's the impression I got of the film as well, that
Yeah.
at the very least, on a very, it's not so stupid, it's gonna give any scientist the same reaction I have watching the poker scene in Casino Royale.
Yeah.
As an ex-poker dealer.
Or any movie taking place in Rome as a classicist.
Don't.
Next week on Media Musings, Gladiator.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I had to make that joke.
On topic, yeah.
Yeah.
Although if you ever do want to see me rant for 2.5 hours, feel free to make that a thing and get me on.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those where the science it holds up enough that you can suspend disbelief without leaving the poor idiots like us who barely passed A-level physics behind.
And of course, Dave had to go with the Russell Crowe joke.
Yeah, of course he did. So yeah, the wormhole thing. It's one of those that will stick in my head because I'm he folded a piece of paper in half, stuck a pencil through it, and said that's the wormhole. But then when you undo the paper, that's the actual distance you're trying to travel. It reminded me of Portal a little bit.
Yeah. So basically, my extremely layman's understanding of a wormhole is something that connects 2 points in space-time.
Yeah.
Essentially like a cosmic shortcut.
I mean, you have space exists on an XY axis.
Yeah.
Or an XY axis, if you like. Time is an extra vector, and I am trying desperately to remember A-level physics. Time is the extra vector, so which makes the entire thing a sphere, because time is that vector that makes it three-dimensional. And therefore, a wormhole could be anything, could be a space on, let's say, the outside of the sphere. I need like I have an apple. Okay, an apple. If the wormhole opens here, because of the way the physics works, and if I'm wrong, by all means, the idea is that you could come out anywhere else on the surface of or inside the apple.
Yeah.
Is my understanding, however weak that may be. Don't quote me on it. I'm a historian, not a physicist. But that's my understanding. Yeah.
Damn it, Jim. I'm a historian, not a physicist.
But from that film and from my very rudimentary, didn't exactly pass AS level physics, but studied it because
Yeah.
the maths was beyond me. That's my kind of understanding of it.
Yeah. And
I'm really hoping I've just pissed off a scientist in the comments and they're going to correct me, because I don't want to go on record as someone not correcting me for that, because I'm
yeah,
convinced it's probably wrong.
I think the closest thing we have to a scientist is Critical Cripple currently in the chat. Now, if Manda were, now if only there was an astrophysicist here.
Yeah, if only we had an astrophysicist in the room.
Yeah.
Everyone forgets that she's a climate scientist, but we really need an astrophysicist.
Yeah. You cannot change the laws of physics.
You can if they're quantum.
Yeah.
You can if they're quantum. That's the entire problem. When I was studying quantum physics, I was just like, this makes no sense.
No, it's not you can if they're quantum. It's if they're quantum, they change themselves.
Yeah. But anyway, this film, I'm coming at this very much from a humanities point of view, because the science, beyond me, I'm not even going to try and explain it beyond holding up an apple at you and hoping to God I didn't make a complete dick of myself. And I promise that's as harsh as the language is going to get. But yeah. There's a lot of interesting themes in that film.
I should have asked for like a stress ball or a fidget cube in my birthday list.
Yes, you should have. You should have. Damn it, husband.
Yeah.
Now you don't have a beard to fiddle with. Yeah.
So, anyways, I'm not gonna say that Christopher Nolan tried to approach it as a remake of 2001: A Space Odyssey, because there are thematic differences, and I don't know whether or not he went on record saying he wanted to make something akin to 2001: A Space Odyssey. More, but I will say that it is apparently heavily influenced by 2001, which kind of makes sense because when 2001 was made, Stanley Kubrick, approached Arthur C. Clarke and said, "I want to make a good science fiction movie," because he was a snob like that.
And that's Kubrick for you.
Well, yeah, and in the 60s and 70s, science fiction movies were, a lot of your Buck Rogers B movie monster flicks and such. But so anyways, Interstellar is heavily, in my opinion, influenced by 2001. One, they're going to a wormhole. As actually the placement of the wormhole. If I remember right, in the film, the wormhole is just outside the orbit of Saturn.
Yeah. But I presume so, because the station he ends up on is just outside the orbit of Saturn, so I presume that's where it was.
And hello, Amiga Nuts.
Hey, Santa.
But so here's my comparative of the relevant points of Interstellar in 2001. So in 2001 they find this monolith on the moon, and when they uncover it, it pings out, and there's a resounding ping from I think Titan, which is a moon orbiting Saturn. And in Interstellar, NASA discovers this the sudden appearance of this wormhole
just by Saturn.
Yeah, just by Saturn.
Again, dredging on education going back over a decade Is there not a
Yeah.
thing about how our solar system is essentially divided into the inner solar system and the outer, and Saturn is the first planet in the outer system?
Actually, no. I think it's Jupiter because I think the dividing line is the asteroid belt.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I'm going back 15 years.
um,
But yeah.
and of course you know, the majority of 2001 is the voyage to Saturn. So which is cut through rather quickly. But there is something the design of the robots. I'm gonna be woefully unprofessional and pull up. I'm woefully unprofessional because I didn't have it here, even though I knew I was going to talk about it.
Okay.
So images and
also, do excuse the state of my hair. I've
yeah,
just spent the last 2.5 hours pulling on it watching that film.
yeah. And I don't have any pictures of it just kind of standing. So all the pictures are of it walking, which is annoying.
Just yeah.
Yeah. Open image in new tab. Because we're professional streamers, folks.
Yeah.
So, share screen, Chrome tab, JPEG. So,
Oh
and
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
yeah. So, like I said, I couldn't find any pictures of them when they're not moving, and of course, when they're moving, the sections go back and forth, and they flip around and stuff. But when they're standing still, and for those of you who have watched Interstellar, they do stand still.
Would you like an image of it stood
Yes.
still? Okay. Hold on. It's on an article. Let me just get the actual image itself. Okay. Go away. Go away. Okay. Give me a screen share. I've got it up.
Okay, hold on. I'm getting something else as well. Open image in new tab. StreamYard. It's not giving me the. You didn't share it yet.
Cool. Like he said, we're professionals.
Oh yes, the epitome or the epitome of professionalism right here. Okay.
It helps if you know the name of the thing you're Googling for, husband.
Yes. Yeah, another note to how we can be more professional. Also, for future reference, you can just share the Google tab.
I have no idea how to do that.
But I'll go ahead and so we have the images of Tars and his other robot companions, and I'll show the image of something from 2001. Tell me though, tell me that doesn't look similar to the monolith.
It looks like a headstone to me, especially with the people crouched around it.
Okay, yeah, those are ape men. I'll get a color. The angle was better for that picture for the point I was trying to make, but open image in new tab.
But of course, Tars represents in Interstellar. He's the the robot with a heart. He's how humanity creates robots in our own image.
Yeah, but You
I
know,
mean, that
yeah,
could be
you can.
anything.
Well, what I'm saying is both the robots and the monoliths in 2001 are, you know, very rather featureless rectangles.
Most technology is in its inception. I could
Yeah,
point to that and say it's the Rosetta Stone. I
yeah,
wouldn't be far wrong. Um,
yeah,
I mean, it's a great point, and you've probably got a point, but
yeah,
I've never seen Space Odyssey, so I
yeah,
can't. Um, I would say that's the thing about we have gone into, and I'm just thinking about because Interstellar is what 2014, and
yeah,
we have recently, I would say, in the last decade, moved from, especially in sci-fi, an attempt to make robots look more human
yeah,
to an attempt to completely remove any human features from robots and
yeah,
make the humanity something more than just aesthetic. Um, so you see, if you go back and watch things like iRobot, he looks human. He looks as human as a robot can look.
yeah,
But then if you go back and look at things
yeah,
like, and again, not necessarily robots, but beings that you're supposed to identify with in sci-fi and fantasy, you have
yeah,
concepts like Groot, like these things that are largely featureless, largely
yeah,
characterless, but we identify them because we can drop ourselves into their place. And I think
yeah,
that is the role Taz plays on Interstellar because he fills that space between the audience and the characters
yeah,
insofar as he makes the sarcastic comment we wish we could make sometimes.
yeah.
So that would be my reading of Taz in
Yeah,
Interstellar.
Amiga nuts. Where are the blinky things on the monolith? When did the monolith run around like a robot? I'm not saying that the robots are supposed to represent the monoliths from 2001. I'm just saying that the design was probably lifted from it.
I mean, as well, I think you're missing the point.
Yeah,
Taz is meant to be an ex-marine, and from a civilian point of view, we hear military robots and we think great big bulky things
yeah,
that just obey orders and do nothing else and are largely featureless and don't
yeah.
have any humanity of their own.
And also 2001 couldn't really afford to be showy. It was made in the 70s.
Yeah. Um, but if Taz had have been built along the lines of something like, I don't know, Data from Trek
Yeah,
or something like that, it wouldn't have had the same impact because it would have looked too
yeah,
human for what it was. The humor in Taz is that conflict between this thing is a block of metal
yeah,
and humor setting at 75%.
yeah.
It's
um,
it's designed to, that's what makes you laugh
yeah,
because it's that little thing of, if we could teach robots humor, like real humor,
yeah,
that to me is the next step in AI from a layman's point of view, is my understanding, because humor is a very human thing.
yeah. But that is very much a question: is it even possible? Because uh, like even among humans, humor is very subjective.
Exactly. And the thing about Taz in Interstellar is he wasn't programmed to be funny, or the
Yeah,
programming was immaculate because he made jokes. We expect a robot or autocorrect on your phone, that kind of thing, to make human slapstick jokes,
yeah,
very infantile,
Im-
childish jokes.
yeah,
We expect robots to be able to do that because they can be programmed that way.
yeah,
But the minute you program a computer so it can be sarcastic, you
yeah,
immediately give it a humanity that other computers don't have.
yeah.
You know,
Also,
it's it, it that's the
Also, since Jen's here, I'll say it again. We're talking about how Interstellar proves spirit science is true. Yeah.
Let's see how she reacts to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a historian, so spirit science is a bit too woo for me.
Oh, she jumped in. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Audio in the background.
Yeah, no, seriously. The whole reason
I've already been angry once today. Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Sorry, totally unrelated. Jen, is that the Pope in your background? On your wall?
No, that's my backpack.
No, in the corner of your screen.
I think it's a watermark of her channel.
No. Oh, me. Oh, that's a watermark. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like an image of the Pope or something.
Yeah.
No, it's not a watermark.
Yeah, but no, seriously.
Actually, it's an old watermark before I did my new logo, and I actually haven't put the new one in. I should do that.
Yes.
Yeah. But
because you look like you're being watched over at the minute.
Anyways, like the whole reason I picked Interstellar was so I could make that joke and have you effing blind at me.
So I picked the right time. Oh, you only did it because I came into chat, didn't you?
Yeah.
He did make the joke at the beginning as well.
Santi asked if I'm a scientist. I've got a degree in computer science. That doesn't actually make me a scientist. It's more like an engineering degree. But I don't call it that because it wasn't called that when I did it. So, but yeah. As far as physics and stuff, things like that, physics and maths and that. Well, I studied maths as well. But as far as physics goes, that was my subject of love. But I wasn't in the mental state to actually do that university degree at the time I was doing studies. That's the only reason I'm not a scientist. And had I be a scientist, I'd be the same as Amanda. I would have ended up studying astrophysics, probably because of my love of space and stuff like that. Either that or quantum mechanics. So
I tried to explain wormholes with an apple earlier.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
Yeah. And then please do correct me in the comments.
After the sidetrack of producing Chris's show, I actually feel a lot better. So,
oh, that's good.
So that's why I thought I'd jump over. But he ran over time.
Okay, so technology. You're a computer engineer. You know, programming computers with humor. Is it actually possible? Because we were just discussing how Taz in Interstellar, because he's sarcastic and it's not just basic slapstick comedy, he seems more human.
Okay. Well, I guess it is. As you improve artificial intelligence to the point of almost reaching sentience, the concept that AI could have humor, they're just as likely to have humor as any other human like trait. So there is no real reason why you couldn't have humor. As to how we'd actually implement humor. See, you can simulate humor. You can certainly create an AI at the moment that would pretend to understand humor.
Yeah.
But would it actually get it?
And would it be able to be humorous off the cuff without pre-programming?
Well, it might be. I mean, humor is an algorithm of sorts. It might be able to do it. It might be very generic.
Taz wasn't generic though.
It might be a very generic sort of humor. But ultimately, how far we can go with AI is anyone's guess at the moment. I mean, computers are very, very good at doing certain things, not very good at doing general things. But as we get better computing systems, as we move into quantum computers and things like that, which is basically how our brains work, our brains are basically like a quantum computer. We may have the processing power, we may have the learning algorithms that will get to the point where they aren't just simulating humor, they actually get it. And it's going to be interesting to see when that sort of line is crossed. The same with emotions. I mean, emotions are an emergent property of self-awareness. So if you get a computer to the point where it's self-aware and it emerges, we will develop emotions. But humans don't have the same type of emotions as, say, a dog does. I mean, some of our things cross over, but some of it's very different because the brain chemistry is very different. So what emotions would a machine have? So the questions are quite amazing. If you want a really good discussion of this, you should ask David.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
no, I
anyway.
was just making the point that, you know, machines and humor, if I saw a machine that could actually make me laugh and be funny off the cuff, I would be very hard pressed to be able to explain it from a humanities point of view why that machine is not
not sentient.
Human. Yeah,
not a person.
Not a person.
Yeah, not a person. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of the stuff that gets covered in Star Trek a bit with Data and that, you know, is he human or is he a person or is he just a machine?
Yeah.
And I think you will definitely, we will probably start asking those sort of questions in the next 10, 15 years. As AI gets better, we'll start going, well, hang on, we've got AIs now that are as smart as dogs. I mean, we have to come up with ideas now of how we're going to deal with it if they get as smart as us, if they get to a sentient level like us. So I think it's highly probable as a species we won't want to create AIs that are like us. We will want to keep our AIs specialized in little areas and not create a general purpose AI that is very human.
Yeah, I mean, like the thing that just jumped out at me when you talk about AIs. Last year, I asked Google what I should go as for Halloween, and it told me to wear my heart on my sleeve because that would be terrifying. Now, to me, that's hilarious, especially as a Snape fan. It was like it was funny, and I'm just like that creeped me out. I haven't used Google. I haven't asked Google a question like that since. It creeped me well out.
You find a lot of these responses are procedurally driven, and they probably deliberately have a procedure that inserts humor here. So somebody has written more or less that. It's just a variant of that it gave you. So it wouldn't be that the computer came up with the joke. It's just somewhere within its database.
Yeah, or someone came up with it. Yeah. Hey, Lisa.
Yeah, hello.
Also, Chris, and remember Sammy Jenkins and Donna's there as well. Hi, all.
Yep. But I was kind of going through points in which Interstellar seems to have lifted inspiration from 2001. One, you know, the location of the wormhole is nearish is in the same kind of area as the location of the monolith that they're going to in 2001. Because if I remember right, the wormhole in Interstellar is, around Saturn.
The orbits of Jupiter and Saturn.
Yeah, and the monolith is on Titan in 2001.
Yeah. I do think you can understate the symbolism of it being just on the other side of the asteroid belt. Just beyond.
In 2001, the monolith is on Europa.
I remember it. No, I'm thinking about that must be a difference between the book and the movie, because in the book
the movie is definitely Jupiter.
Okay. Because in the book, they slingshot around Jupiter to get, to pick up a boost to get.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I read the book, but I distinctly remember it was Jupiter in the movie.
Donna's making me blush. I don't mind you saying, Donna. That's just giving my ego a nice boost. So thank you.
Yeah. Yes, you do look very beautiful.
I love how it took someone else saying it for you to,
Well, the thing is, you always look beautiful to me, so it's not really worth it.
Okay, enough mushiness. Yeah. Now he's just outright lying because he's seen me at my absolute worst. But yeah, let's see. Because I think whether it's on Jupiter or Saturn doesn't make a lot of difference. It's because I was talking about, and I'm sure I remember, and if I remember it, other people will vaguely remember this lesson from school, that our solar system is split as such by the asteroid belt between the inner solar system and the outer solar system. So putting these doorways or other things that, just beyond into the outer solar system, there's a lot of layers of symbolism and sort of vague hinting there about what that means. It makes it harder to get there, and it gives it that air of mystery. It's the room on the other side of the door in the horror movie where the scary voice is coming from. That's what that, I think in sci-fi, you can argue that's probably what that division space of the asteroid belt represents.
I don't know that that's the case in 2001, because I think it's more of a case that the monoliths were spread out. So there was one on the moon to start off with, and then they discovered the one on Jupiter. So they were kind of spread out. So it just took a while for these things to be found, and then we had to get to them. So it was almost like a test of the technological advancement that you'd had as a civilization, rather than it being a fear factor thing.
Well, because again, I haven't seen Odyssey. I'm going off what my husband says, which is apparently not reliable.
In 2000 Odyssey, or in 2001 A Space Odyssey, the monoliths were essentially put there to uplift humanity and then test humanity to show that we've really actually developed as a species. The first one was on Earth and it uplifted us from
okay. So in the Odyssey, the monoliths are like breadcrumbs for us to follow, essentially. The symbolism
they also trigger next developments in humanity, so they have a physical effect on humanity as it's evolving.
They're basically built to uplift humanity to a more sentient form.
They're game checkpoints.
Yeah.
They are, they're checkpoints. That's what it sounds like.
And in fact, I'd make a comparison between the monolith on Titan, or if we're talking the book, or if we're talking the movie, just outside Jupiter, and the black hole, because Dave goes into the monolith. My God, it's full of stars, and then it's Herb or whatever.
I watched the movie, so I didn't catch his name.
Yeah, the protagonist. The protagonist of Interstellar, goes into the black hole.
I have a issue with that particular statement you have just made, Ring.
What?
I don't believe he is the protagonist of Interstellar.
He's
the character who is followed, but he is not the protagonist of that film.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, no, we never see the protagonist on screen.
Really? What?
The protagonist is Edmund. Is the Professor Edmund, who is on the other planet that they never go to, that Brand arrives on. Because at the end of the day, he's the linchpin that drives the entire plot. He's the reason Brand goes. He's the reason they're going out there. He's because
the reason they all go is the loop around with the
Yes, but he's also at the end. He's the conclusion. Yes, but his planet is the conclusion. Therefore, he's the basis of any sequel would have to be on his planet.
I hate stupid self-fulfilling time loops. They're so annoying.
They're irritating. They're so irritating.
But okay, my point is the point of view character.
Yeah. Sorry, just something I noticed.
Dave in 2001, Herb, or what's his name in Interstellar, goes into, in the case of 2001, the monolith, in the case of Interstellar, the black hole, and learns new truths about the universe.
Well, the only place
and essentially in 2001 it's a more literal ascension, and in Interstellar is more philosophical and metaphorical, a sense to something of a higher state of being.
Yeah, so many things are derivative of each other anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a direct
I mean,
copying of the
it's the
ideas. They're
reception of
historically different.
I mean, you can
Yeah.
a lot of the themes in Interstellar, in a lot of sci-fi, you can trace back to classical mythology.
Yeah.
I
mean,
it's
they're the same
nothing
stories.
new.
I
It's
mean,
the same story, it's just a different setting.
A lot of sci-fi is the hero's journey.
Yeah, no, it is
Yeah.
because it's a very compelling plot. But again, it's all just reception, and it's how we receive those stories through
Star
time.
Wars is the hero's story.
Yeah.
Hero's journey.
Yeah.
Which I think, talking about the protagonist, there was one of the points I sent you, Ring, the silencing of the protagonist.
Yeah.
In a lot of stories throughout history, the main reason for the story is never actually shown, and is never. So the catalyst for the story is never actually given page time or screen time. And we have to receive the protagonist through those who respond to the call.
Yeah.
So in Interstellar, we're watching the point of view character. You can go back, and again, I'm gonna make the classics references. We don't Odysseus and Penelope. We aren't with Penelope in the underworld. We follow Odysseus, but Penelope is the reason he's going.
Yeah.
It's that point of we are more interested in the journey than the outcome, or more interested in the journey than the catalyst for it. And I think that says a lot about us as a species, and as for humanity. We care more about the journey than anything else. Doesn't matter where we're going, where we've come from, or why. For us, it's the journey, and I think that's something you see across media throughout history.
Yeah,
Dave's being rude.
Yeah, and as for Dave, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, I can't do that, Dave.
Oh, brilliant!
Rigging his voices.
I had to do that. And Hissy, in case you didn't realize, that was a 2001 reference.
I'm aware of something called HAL.
Yes.
And the voice, but that's about it. I do need to watch 2001 at some point. It's one of those things, sci-fi kind of passed me by as a kid. I watched what my dad was into growing up, and that's it, because my mum's stuff was all like Lifetime movies, and that didn't interest me. My dad's never been a big sci-fi person. And it's only as I've got older and started branching out, and I just haven't got to sci-fi yet.
Yeah, and that's where you have to watch Top 2.
And I will say that the part on the on the second planet is kind of a subversion in where in, and I'm kind of stuck on this comparison because to me they are very similar movies. But instead of the computer, or the artificial intelligence going mad, you have the human going mad, i.e. that explorer on the second planet who thinks that it's humanity's place to die.
I could write an essay for you on the symbolism of him being trapped up there on his own, surrounded by nothing and reliant on technology for so long before he finally loses the plot.
Yeah.
And in a strange way, it's difficult to call him. If I had to point to a villain in that movie, I'd say it was him. But it's difficult to call him a villain because I feel like he and Brand are two sides of the same coin. Brand cares about individuals. You notice this. When they go to planets, she's interested in collecting the research. She's interested in individual human beings. She wants to go to Edmund's planet because she's in love with him. She's a normal human being. She reacts how any normal human being would react.
Yeah.
But the other guy it's all about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And media and movies in particular have a nasty habit of villainizing that mindset because it's convenient to do that.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, yeah, we can call them horrendous and they can make decisions that most of us wouldn't want to be in the position of having to make. But the truth is, if we want to survive on any level, if we want to survive, we have to always be thinking ahead. And that's what that character was doing in a very cold, calculating way. And sometimes media does have this habit of saying, if you don't feel before you think, there's something wrong with you. And I can 100%, I can appreciate where it's coming from, but I can 100% get behind it, because without people like that, without people who think that far ahead and make those difficult decisions, humanity would have died out a long time ago. And it's a very, I'm not going to talk about current affairs, but it's a very timely message that sometimes people have to make the hard decisions. And when you put people in a position where that's the only decision they have left to make, I wouldn't want to be in that position. And I don't think anyone has any right to judge someone who is in that position.
I think it would be a beautiful thing if everyone was in churches for Easter.
Yeah, please don't do that. That's just stupidness. But it's essentially what we're looking at is the two different human responses to the trolley problem in that movie. Brandon, the guy on the planet, it's the trolley problem. Or the train line problem, or whatever you call it. It is that problem. And
sorry, I just got an email that's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool.
When you boil it down to that microcosm of the trolley problem, it becomes a lot easier to empathize with the character who's willing to make a small sacrifice to save everyone on the train.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes it's easier to contextualize things like that. Because we all like to think we'd do the right thing in that scenario, but the truth is there is no right thing. There is only the correct answer and the incorrect answer, and we can't make a moral judgment on whichever one that is. It depends on what your priorities are.
Yeah.
And when your priorities are different, that's where the conflict comes in. And it's a very philosophical debate to be having.
Yeah.
Especially on a Sunday afternoon without alcohol. Thank you.
And another thing I'd like to touch on is how Interstellar is very much about humanity's interaction with science and technology.
Okay.
Because in the beginning, Earth has gone to shit and humanity has turned its back on, trying to figure things out anymore, because they're just trying to deal with, they're just trying to use what's worked before to deal with how they fucked up the planet.
Again, I think, it's a timely point that when shit gets rough, and again, apologies for the language.
Yeah.
It is, we as humans freeze. And that's what the start of that movie is showing. It just froze.
Yeah. Well,
and it is only a select few who were able to pick themselves up and push forward when there seemed to be no hope left.
Well, and the thing is, like, the government is outright, quashing scientific curiosity, because they're, they're making the textbooks say we never went to the moon. They're, etc.
There's a very working class mentality there of, I know I grew up with it, of how dare you want an education? How dare you want to be academic when you have to put food on the table and keep a roof over your head? Yeah. Priorities. Again, it's all about priorities, and people's priorities again are different. And I know I was very lucky with my background.
Yeah.
There were my parents and a few really good teachers told me, no, if your priorities are academics, that's your priorities and you can do that. But I had some people treat me quite badly because they said, you're wasting your life, you're throwing it away on something that'll never earn you a living. Well, tough, it's my life to throw away, deal with it, not your problem. And it's how people respond to different situations. But that point about the government quashing propaganda,
Yeah.
and how the fastest, most efficient way of suppressing the truth is to tell a population that the truth is the propaganda.
Now, which is why we should be telling all the kids in schools that the Earth is only 6,000 years old and evolution is stupid.
Sorry, fake news. Sorry, I've got a cough.
Don't forget, the world's covered in lots of water, but it used to have less water so the animals could walk across land bridges.
Yeah.
And then they have more water for Noah.
Which dipstick came up with that?
That's
that
one.
dipstick, Ken Hovind. Yeah, he actually thinks that. He thinks the world flooded, and then as soon as the flood was over, the world got less water on it, so there was land bridges so the animals could walk between.
Because
where does he think the water went when we have an atmosphere?
He doesn't. Yeah. He's stupid.
We had an ice age, and all the water was in the ice caps, which made land bridges for the kangaroos to go to Australia.
Yeah, he's forgetting the fact that an ice age making land bridges would be a lot better system than actually the water level going down. But hey, it's Ken Hovind. He's dumb as shit.
Don't we know a climate scientist who's very good on tectonics?
Oh yeah, Amanda went right off about it.
Yeah.
Because tectonics are a thing.
Yeah, no, Amanda went off about it. She really did. It was a great stream.
Yeah, I'll have to go find it.
Talking about people who are,
got 2 Hovind fans so far who've made comments on it.
Yeah. Talking about people who are anti-science.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think that's why as well, of that entire team who went on that mission, it had to be Brand who survived and got to the other planet to start the colony, because she's the only one who cares about people on an individual level, which, let's be honest, is what's going to required when you've got, like, how many embryos did they take up that are going to have to be raised from egg? Like, she's the mother in that situation. She has to be.
Yeah, of course. You have the the Adam and Eve symbolism on the third planet.
Yeah.
I can't believe Dave's gonna go watch Shannon and Alex. I love Shannon, but I can't stand Alex.
Who's Alex?
Cosmic Skeptic.
A rather what's the word? Extreme vegan.
Yeah, he's not only that. There's other things that I don't like about him, but that was the main one. Extreme
vegan. Tell him to come at me. I've got bacon like defrosting in the next room. Come at me, asshole.
He was the one who posted the tweet of, like, if you condemn the Chinese for doing this and you eat meat, you're racist.
Yeah, he also said that
if I eat meat, I'm racist. Come at me.
No,
he said the Australian fires were caused by people eating meat.
Yeah,
I didn't know you ate koala bears and kangaroos in Australia.
No, he just went for you ate meat, so you contributed to climate change. So therefore therefore it's all the meat eaters that cause the Aussie bushfires. And like, farming isn't the number one cause of climate change. It is a cause, but not the number one.
Farming is nowhere near the number one cause of climate change. It's not even the number one cause of pollution.
But back to Interstellar.
Back to Interstellar. So we were talking.
No, I don't think Dave's bad. I love Dave. Dave is amazing.
Yeah.
Sammy? I just couldn't go and watch Alex. Is my point. We're not saying anything nasty about Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything nasty about anyone. I'm just saying that the points that you're saying this person has made, if that's what you really believe, come at me. I have a channel now. I will host you and I will tear you apart.
Mary challenged him on it, and he went after Mary.
Yeah.
Come at me, dude. I don't care.
No,
I
don't like Alex at all. He did other stuff previously, which I'll tell you about at some other time, not on stream. But he's
Is Dave muted?
He's not my favorite person.
No, Dave muted us so he
can go and do so he can go and manage and stream.
I think Sammy is fucking with Dave.
Why did you do no subtitles?
Yeah, I was kidding. Dave's muted, so wanted him to think he was being discussed.
No, he wasn't. Alex was.
Yeah, YouTube can't do accents. That's why it doesn't have subtitles. But I don't know. There's a lot going on in Interstellar philosophically.
Yeah.
And I may actually end up making a video on it because it's a very interesting concept. With just enough science in it that it enhances the emotion and the philosophy of it without overshadowing it.
Yeah, but
I don't know how reliable the science is, but
we do agree that the scene in the black hole was stupid.
I actually think a lot of the premise of the movie was completely ridiculous, but it certainly didn't say what spirit science thought it said.
Yeah.
I would say the scene, it packed an emotional punch. I think scientifically it's bullshit. Like, even me with very little science knowledge looks at that and thinks, what?
Most of the plot of the movie was scientifically ridiculous.
Yeah.
That was the problem.
Yeah. I mean, it's enough like someone of my level of understanding, as I said earlier, barely passed A-level physics, AS-level physics even, as it was then. It can just about suspend disbelief enough to accept the science so I don't get thrown out of the plot. But I think there's a reason the entire plot is so character-driven, and it's because they knew the science didn't hold up.
Oh, yeah.
The plot is entirely character-driven.
Because you certainly can't have the science drive the story.
No.
The science was completely adjacent. That whole story could have been a hero's journey set on Earth, and it would have been no different.
Yeah. No, and I think as well shouldn't he have been crushed as he went into the black hole? Shouldn't he have been completely crushed?
How the hell?
From the gravity?
We don't know any way you could make a stable wormhole, but how the hell would a stable wormhole stay stable whilst it's in orbit around a black hole?
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing was just... I looked at it and I was just like... I got about an hour into the film and I thought, yeah, I'm not going to comment on the science on this because I don't understand it, but I understand enough to know that it makes no sense.
Yeah, he would have been like ripped apart by the tidal forces of the black hole as he went in.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it would have been torn apart or crushed or
vaporized by Hawking radiation.
Yeah, and also since when do explosions happen when there's no atmosphere and no oxygen?
Oh, yeah, explosions happen with no atmosphere or oxygen. It just, doesn't make any sounds.
The guy was outside the atmosphere of the planet trying to cross into the main ship, and the whole thing caught fire when he opened it and he got dragged out of it and it depressurized. Even with the electronics, they would have just sparked out. There would have been nothing there. How do you maintain flame when there's no air? That is... and the more I think about it...
You do have flames that will burn without oxygen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but flames that are catching fire to metal...
Depends what causes them. But yeah, the whole movie was a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked visually how the inside of the black hole looked. I thought it was very Escher.
Yeah,
I like the look of the black hole full stop. It was
Yeah.
pretty accurate to how we think black holes do look and how the pictures we took of that black hole.
The outside was but we're Hitsley was talking about the inside.
The inside.
Yeah, the inside. Yeah, it's very Escher. It's very like, you ever been into one of those things that are all mirrors at a carnival? House of Mirrors?
Yeah.
It had that sort of vibe to it.
Well,
and those are deliberately designed to fuck with your head and make you think, so
and I think
it makes sense.
Well, I think Nolan just like has a thing about that as a visual effect, because I mean,
yeah, he did it in Inception as well, didn't
he did it a lot in Inception.
The whole of Inception is pretty much based on that visual.
Yeah. They use the Force, sissy. That's how they do it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So you've got to suspend disbelief with these things. But I don't know. I think there are. I think they took concepts that most people understand vaguely and made them emotional.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't understand the science, is a much better way to go rather than taking the science. Yeah. Because the whole concept of relativity, I didn't really give a damn about the relativity subplot until I realised, his daughter's going to be an old woman.
Yeah.
And that's when I started caring about the maths of the relativity and the time slips and time differences. Now, my understanding of relativity is, you ever see the film Einstein and Edison, where he tells his servants to hold out a sheet and he throws a watermelon into the middle and he says that's relativity? I still don't understand what that means. Relativity for me is when Einstein walks into a bar to meet some high-level Nazi and tell him off, and the man tells him off for being late, and Einstein gives him this long lecture. Basically, that boils down to, I set off after we were due to meet, so of course I wasn't going to be on time.
Yes.
Or, my flight was late kind of argument. So... I
throwing a watermelon into a sheet is not relativity.
They're
trying to demonstrate.
He threw a watermelon in, and then he started throwing other fruits in to represent the planets.
Yeah,
and it was something about
okay. For starters, that's general relativity, and it's just the bit about gravity.
Damn it, Jen, I'm a historian, not a scientist. I don't know the difference.
No, I'm just saying, it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah, welcome to this episode of Media Musings, where we're talking about Interstellar and a bunch of other sciencey movies.
Jen gets upset with all the bad science.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, for me, I don't know the science, so I retract my earlier statement of before Jen arrived, where I said it probably wouldn't drive scientists like wacky and make them rant, because apparently it does. But it holds up to me as, a historian and not a scientist.
I mean, I'm not sure that he ever did that. He may have done an example of gravity by doing that, but
that's a different Earlier on Interstellar, I said it seemed like the science was sound enough that you could suspend disbelief where it wasn't. So apparently it's not.
No.
So cool.
The one thing they did do was they went and talked to scientists to get an idea of how they should make their black hole look. That was it. They asked a few things about the mechanics of certain things that they wanted to do, like going through a wormhole. What would it be like, and stuff like that. So they get visual effects right. They didn't actually care if they got the science right.
Right. Is the wormhole explanation correct?
What was
On a
it?
very basic level, he folded a piece of paper over and stuck a pencil through it.
It's the usual way that people try to explain it. Yeah, you spend space and create a shortcut so that you can go through.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's the standard sort of way to show people how it works. Although from a technical perspective, it doesn't. Yeah, it's not really like that. You don't fold space in that sort of way. But yeah,
I prefer my Apple example.
Yeah.
So you'll have to go back and watch that because I'm not doing it again.
no, that's
I don't think I could do it again because I don't think I remember it. So I might have to go back and watch it. But Interstellar is first and foremost a philosophical exercise. It's not a sci-fi.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Or it's only a sci-fi insofar as sci-fi is a philosophical exercise.
It's also a little tiny bit preachy.
Oh yeah.
Tiny little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Which I think is why which is why when I rate Nolan movies, I go Prestige, Inception, Interstellar.
Batman.
Oh, I don't count. I mean, I kind of hold Batman in a separate category because those were the movies he made, so he could make the movies he wanted to make.
Night, Lizzie.
Yeah, but Batman's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think what he's getting at is ones where Nolan had more creative control.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. From a... I still think I like The Prestige. The Prestige, that's the one about the magicians, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I love The Prestige. That was
yeah.
We should talk about The Prestige sometime.
Yes, we should. You should do a Nolan series.
Yeah.
My dad quite likes The Prestige. He enjoyed it. But again, it's with Nolan, it's all character driven. And Nolan is...
Yeah.
If these three are the ones that Nolan had the most control over and had control over the plot and the storyline as well.
Again. Damn you.
I think Nolan is a philosopher.
Yeah.
Nolan's doing my SEAL network in Star Trek.
I have no idea what he's talking about.
Sorry,
yeah, I so it must be either in next gen, Deep Space Nine, or Voyager, because we've watched pretty much all of the original series.
We've watched the original, and I'm starting on Picard, so no spoilers.
If I can figure out what he's talking about, I might be able to explain it.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, this story is it's the story of the daughter more than him. Yeah. And I mean, for me, the daughter, her character makes no sense. Her character development, it just doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, my father leaves with no hope of coming back. Doesn't properly explain it to me so I understand, and all the rest of it. I don't then go on to. And this is a thing movies do a lot. They romanticize the father-daughter relationship. And I don't mean romanticize as in make it romantic. I mean, they make it an ideal that it's just not. You know, my dad's an electrician, and the last thing in the world I want to be is anything to do with electronics.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Stanley, I don't like Discovery. I don't count it in my head canon, so I have absolutely no idea what they were trying to do.
Also, I just realized something. Earth was on the brink of collapse. How the fuck did they get the resources to make a ring world?
Can I point out that is you've got to watch it carefully, but that is pointed out, that is explained.
Oh.
He says when he's called into the teacher's office, he says he pays his taxes when he's arguing about whether his son can go to university. And then he says, well, where do my taxes go? And the school says, not to the university. And then when you see it, when he gets to NASA, the old professor, Dr. Brand, says, Professor Brand says, also, minor aside, just because she's his daughter doesn't mean she's not capable of becoming a professor. She didn't have to stop at being a doctor. But
really
he
mustn't, Sam.
says they did it in secret and they got the funding. Basically, so what it's hinting at is everyone's taxes has been secretly funding NASA, but no one's paying enough attention to actually question where the money goes because they're all too busy trying to survive.
Yeah, well, I wasn't talking about funding. I was talking about material.
With the funding, you can get it. Most of the funding for building those things, it's either subterraneous material that they can pull out of the ground. They can probably galvanize a lot of old technology. Don't forget, they've got a planet's worth of old technology that no one seems to be using anymore to use and build on and destroy and rebuild and take bits off and scrap and all the rest of it. And that to me is the least insane part of the entire thing, because I could see that happening. Hi, dude.
And we have the grumpy old dude.
Hi, dude. But so to me that makes sense. I can see that happening. What doesn't make sense to me is how these farms, which are losing a third of their crop every year permanently, are able to even pay their taxes.
Yeah.
That's what doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, nobody should be earning any money in their world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
At best, they should be subsistence farming.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it's quite clear that their economy is not fiscally based. It can't.
It also doesn't make any sense that only one crop now works. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and you never see anyone exchange currency anywhere in that film.
Yeah. Plus, if only one crop works, then there's only like 1 or 2 generations before it depletes all the nutrients in the soil.
Exactly, and that's the basis of the plot, isn't it? That they've got to move fast.
Well, just because a crop doesn't work doesn't mean you can't grow something else there.
Yeah, but the same every crop is died
not
off.
Exactly true.
Yeah.
I mean, just because okra died last year and there was a blight doesn't mean you can't replant it this year and try again.
Yeah.
Like, from that point of view, it doesn't make a lot of sense either.
Thanks, Ed.
The whole thing is, the more I think about it, the more fantastic and sort of
ridiculous.
Not logical it gets. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's very not logical. You have to suspend all your science knowledge to watch the movie.
Yeah, and I think it is entirely nonsensical, and it gets very meta though, because you get to a point of 2/3 of the way through the movie where she's looking at the blackboards and she goes, "This is nonsense. It makes no sense." And you wonder for a second whether she's talking about the film or the equation or both or nothing.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, and
it's almost the movie poking fun at itself.
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
it was very Nolan-esque that. So I would be surprised
because Inception is about making movies.
Yeah.
It's very meta. Nolan likes his meta humor. But I don't know. The whole that story at its base is, as most compelling stories are throughout human history, it's a story about love and family and people. Because let's be honest, no one actually has the same emotional attachment to technology as they have to other human beings.
Yeah.
We rely on technology, but we don't love it.
Yeah.
So I will say, I will make a joke and say, ask Japan about that.
Yes, but even still, Japan tries to make its technology look like humans in order to love it. It's it's that point. I get the joke, but
yeah.
And
that sexy
conversation
brain
they had about the social utility of love kind of answered its own question. So there's one point where, and I have major issue with this, because some people will watch that film and take it as a gospel comment, where she says that there is no social utility in loving the dead.
Yeah.
There is social utility in loving the dead. It's survival and it's learning. You learn from the mistakes of the dead, and you can't do that if you don't have empathy for them and love for them.
Yeah.
So whoever came up with that line, come at me. I'm going to make that my catchphrase. Just come at me.
Yes.
Yeah. That person can bite me, because the social utility of loving the dead is what, in a large part, caused human beings to begin to settle down rather than being nomadic.
Yeah.
We
From an
wanted
emotional
to stay close to our
standpoint.
ancestors.
Yeah.
And we wanted to remember things of the past. It's why we developed language, so we would remember
Exactly.
things and pass things on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the basis of human civilization.
Oh,
So
yeah.
for them to say that there is no social utility in grief and in love of the dead is, oh my, now I know how Jen feels when she looks at the science of that movie.
Yeah.
It's just completely incorrect. I cannot stress this enough. Ring said to me before this stream, we try and stay PG-13. So
if
I'm
Jay had come on, he
holding
would have
back.
been agreeing with us in all of this, then that it's not a good movie.
Yeah.
But
having said that, it's not a bad movie if you can
not.
forget all the science mistakes, if you can get the weird sort of philosophy that they have during it, and the fact that it's so meta and talking about itself. The movie itself's okay. It's not
an alright
great.
movie.
It's not a great movie. Certainly not.
I wouldn't say the philosophy is weird. I would say the philosophy is very niche. And the thing is, the movie doesn't know what its own philosophy is, and that's a problem with a movie like this.
Yeah.
Because
it's
got two conflicting philosophies, and it's presenting both and giving value judgments on both without actually deciding which one is, without explicitly stating which one it falls on the side of. It does state it, but it's not explicit of which one it does. And the thing is, I think it makes the wrong decision in the end. I don't agree with the conclusion of the film.
No, I probably agree with you there.
I could very much see a fundamental Christian apologist saying that, Interstellar proves God because Interstellar shows that, love transcends the universe and God is love and blah, blah, blah.
It doesn't, though.
Yeah.
Also, I do have to say I am very glad the movie ended before we got to the cheap romance.
Yeah.
That was the saving grace.
Romance.
Because although it's quite obvious that's where it's going, because you see basically what looks like a burial mound to the scientist she obviously found on that other planet.
Yeah.
And if people would learn the difference between movie and history, it would help a lot. But, this is why academics have had to spend the last 15 years or so telling people that the Ninth Legion is not some great mystery. Oh, ever since that movie came out.
Yeah.
It's not a mystery, guys.
Or religion, etc.
It's not. It's just a want of understanding and a lack of source material. That's it. And neither of those things constitute a mystery. They just constitute a puzzle, which is like a cut price mystery. Solve it.
It's a mystery you can pick up at Poundland.
Poundland? You're joking, right? I've seen that book for 50 pence in a charity shop. I'm paying £1 for it. Hey, the Pope disappeared.
And my actual proper one now. So
but
I'll take it off though because it looks funny.
Yeah, it's
also a bit big, I think.
Yeah, it is a bit big.
A little bit, yeah. But I think with the movie, to me, seems to conclude that loving individual people is the greater moral high ground than being interested in propagating the species at all cost.
Yeah.
And to me, that's an incorrect conclusion.
Yeah.
It's a very personal conclusion and it makes a good movie, but it's an incorrect conclusion on a philosophical level. And especially as the movie tries to be so philosophical, coming to that incorrect conclusion just...
Yeah, that being said, would you guys want to see a sequel?
No. Absolutely not. It's the only movie I've ever watched that I haven't immediately got half a dozen ideas for fan fictions for, because that movie needs to end there. I do not want to see the romance between him and Brand when he arrives on that planet and all their little embryo babies. And I don't want to see people arriving and, building. I don't want to see that. I'm not interested in that. It's not an interesting story. It's not compelling. At best, it's a Lifetime movie. And there are too many of those in the world as it is. I will have no interest in seeing what goes on further there.
See, I'm kind of interested in what might happen when the people from the Rim world interact with the people from the planet.
I don't think they'd all make it. I don't think it's viable to take people from the world to that planet.
But you know what I'm saying is, like, once there's commerce, or
there is a dark truth in that movie, and the truth is that neither of his children would have made it to that world, even if he did get back and tell them everything in person. And there wasn't the whole issue with the time loop, because his daughter was a scientist and would have had to stay behind to work on it, and his son wouldn't have been deemed important enough. And the dark truth of that movie is that his love for his children is completely irrelevant to the plot.
Yeah. But if he had decent love for his children, he wouldn't have buggered off.
Like...
I'm sorry, you're a parent. You let somebody go who doesn't have kids.
Yeah.
You don't bugger off and leave your kids when they're young to fend for themselves.
Yeah, and he wasn't the only person there who could have done it. Are you seriously telling me that in that world he's the last person who knows how to fly a plane?
Yeah.
No, it was just... Well, there were other crew members who were quite capable as well. So, no. No, he did it because he wanted to, and he cared more about them.
Can we not discuss that particular topic, please? I'm trying to avoid it for my own mental health.
Yeah,
appreciate the update, Amiga, but...
Yeah, that's why I didn't say anything about it. I just flashed it on the screen.
Yeah. Because it's topped 1,000 in the UK, but... But yeah, the whole thing... It topped 1,000 yesterday, the death rate.
Oh, the death rate?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you just meant cases. Oh, you're doing all right.
Yeah. Oh, time to start building the Rim world, or the Ring world.
But the thing is, that old professor was made out to be the villain.
Yeah.
And he wasn't. And I want to make the comment on the poem he kept quoting. Do not go gentle.
Yeah.
That's that poem's been taken in a religious context, and it is borderline religious when you read it. But the truth of that is that the only way for humanity to survive in that plot was to follow what he was saying. And he essentially sacrificed his life, his life's work, and his legacy to ensure the survival of the species. He is the hero of that story. And the thing is, he's the character who will be forgotten in the history of that world, who will probably be demonized as the person who gave up on humanity, where the truth is he appears to have been the only person in that plot with an ounce of common sense. And the problem is, especially, and it does happen in academic circles, all the brains and no common sense. This dude looked at it and went, hang on, let me look at this logically, and he's the only one who did. And he looked at it and he realised that the rest of them didn't have common sense, and the only way to make them do what was right was by lying to them.
Hey, did you see what Ed wrote?
Yeah, I did.
The bean smile?
I flick the bean all the time.
What bean? Oh. Tell me a second there.
Damn it, Ed.
Oh dear. I can't believe I love
Damn it, Ed.
I don't know what was better. Like,
His comment on my reaction.
Yeah.
Watching it dawn on you what he meant.
It took me a second. Because I didn't read the comment properly, and then I read it again when you said it, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Also, I'm not wearing my glasses, so it's harder to read everything. But I don't know. That's not a film I'd show in science class. It's a film I'd show in history or literature class.
Yeah.
It's a humanities film. The science is there to forward the plot and forward the human development and to create questions. It's not there to stand up to scrutiny. It's just not.
Yeah.
Can I spark up? Am I okay to spark up on your stream?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool.
Well, I may have to go soon because it's getting late here and I'm knackered.
Well, I think we've hit all the points we wanted to talk about.
I think in passing, yeah, but I think I don't know. I think the film broke my heart a little bit because there is one point, I didn't write it to you and I've not mentioned it so far, the line from his daughter at the end. The line from his daughter where there's a great emotional impact of that when she says to him, no parent should have to watch their child die, and she sends him away in a beautiful mirroring of the beginning where she begs him to stay.
Yeah.
She's grown up without him and she's grown beyond her need for him, and she's proven the point and the line his wife told him, that parents exist only to be memories for their children.
Yeah.
She has grown beyond her need for him. It's so much so that she takes on almost a maternal role towards him at the end.
Yeah.
Which is, I could write an essay about it. It's an incredibly deep point for a film to make. And this film does that very well. It makes deep points. Not necessarily the right point, but it does, if you watch it with a mind to viewing the philosophy and at the very least letting yourself consider the philosophies it's expounding on.
When you watch it with the eye to like critically analyze it as a piece of literature or
I would strongly suggest analysing it as a piece of literature and philosophy rather than as a film or as a scientific concept. This film, it's a comment on the state of humanity and on what humanity means and is and who human beings are. It is not a plain old story. Because quite frankly, the plot's not that compelling. It's the philosophy behind it that draws us in. It's the emotion of the plot. If it wasn't for the emotion, and that's why the first hour of the film is him knocking about with his kids. Because it's building that emotional connection between you and the characters. You could have made that film without the first hour. The plot would not have changed. The difference between that film and Independence Day is that film has the hour with his kids at the beginning. And it would be very similar to Independence Day without that hour. And the one thing you don't see in Independence Day is the connection to humanity with Will Smith's character.
Yeah.
And that's what this film delivers. And that's why this film is I don't say this lightly. That film is a philosophical masterpiece, if nothing else. And I don't say this lightly. It does. The philosophy of it is very, I don't understand why there's not more essays on it and more academic discussion of it, because it would be a fantastic way to get lay people into philosophy and ask the big questions about humanity and our place in the universe. But the rest of it, what Nolan should have done and what Nolan did are two different things. Nolan is trying to tell one story in the wrong setting.
Yeah, that whole story didn't need the whole space setting to be told.
It didn't, but the space setting was his hook.
It was.
The space setting is how he reaches out to people who normally wouldn't engage with that kind of philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in that sense, all power to him, because if we didn't have people who were writing stories and producing stories that introduced the mass population to that level of philosophy, that level of, questioning and analysis and things like that, we would never have.
From watching it, you can understand why the studio initially did not want to fund it.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine for a second that the film read anywhere near half as good as it looked on screen. That film would not make a good book.
The original reading, I doubt, looks anywhere. The original reading, it would have been very different to what he ended up putting on the screen. He would have worked that over and over to get it to the point where it did what he wanted it to do.
Yeah, that's why Nolan had to make 3 Batman movies for Warner Bros.
Yeah, no, it's what the difference is, and I'm going to talk about a historical example here, and it's quite a what's the word? It gets people arguing. It starts with a C. Dyslexia kicking in now. It's a discussion that can potentially cause offence. No offence intended. I'm using it as an example to highlight a point. No. But it's about the Katyn massacre in Poland, and it's called Katyn.
Okay.
Katyn. And what happened historically is that the officers of the Polish military in the 40s were essentially massacred in order to behead the Polish military from being able to fight back. And this is an ongoing issue, and this was an ongoing issue throughout sort of up until the mid-2000s. We didn't fully know the truth. Or the truth was known but wasn't widely known. And when Andrew I want to say his name's Vashek, it might not be. It's Andrei something, the director's name. He had to decide when he was telling the story which story he wanted to tell. Did he want to tell the story of the massacre, or did he want to tell the story of the lie? And he chose to tell the story of the lie. And he had to prioritize that, and it would have been an entirely different film if he'd have told the story of the massacre and the history of it.
Yeah.
But the story of the lie was the human story and the human impact of the massacre, which matters more to people. And very much Interstellar is the story of the lie. It's the story of Professor Brand's lie.
Yeah.
It is not the story of, like you said, that movie could have been a road trip movie across America or Australia, and it would have been the same damn plot.
Yeah.
It would have just it
could have been done without the
black hole. The black hole is a MacGuffin at best. It is just. There's not a lot there that you could.
It was a way of telling a spiritual story without being spiritual.
Yeah.
That's what the black hole enabled them to do. We can dress up spirituality in science by making this crap up about science.
But we have to be careful, or else we'll start sounding like Jordan.
Mm.
Oh yeah. I mean, there was definitely an element to that. But I mean, what Jordan was looking for was somebody to confirm his personal beliefs. That's not what that was about. The spiritual side of this wasn't about a spiritual belief. It was about painting pictures of humanity and what people do.
Yeah.
And it is a great exploration of the human psyche.
Yeah,
how
I
humans
agree.
react to extreme situations.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, and that's what the film gets at very quickly, the majority of the human population will not have the first clue how to survive if things went to hell.
Yeah.
And we would be relying on.
Oh, look at it now. We've got
exactly.
an example of it, haven't we?
Yeah, we would be entirely relying on a tiny group of people in order to survive.
Look, we can't survive a virus that's doing shit to people at the moment. I know you don't want to talk about this.
Yeah, but
We're not doing this well. If we were really looking at at something was quasi extinction level, we're fucked.
yeah,
We can't
we are.
manage this. How will we manage something like that?
And the thing is, I think this entire scenario of what's going on in the world at the minute is going to change how sci-fi is made and how it's presented. Because before this, I think there was the genuine belief, the genuine hope that humanity would somehow pull its finger out and get on with it. And we've kind of been smacked in the face with the rotten fish of truth that we are not equipped to survive.
So
we are not well
saying sci-fi is going to take another pessimistic turn like it did in the Cold War.
I think it is. At least for a while we recover our psyche mentally from what's going on in the world now. I think in the same way America has a Vietnam syndrome or an Iraq syndrome, the entire damn planet is going to have a COVID syndrome.
Yeah.
We really are.
And every year we're going to start panicking about where's the next big virus coming from.
Yeah.
I don't think we are. I think we're, as a population, the further we get away from it, we're going to forget how bad it was, and it's going to take on an almost mythological...
You think?
Yeah, because
I
think we will always fear it.
Yeah.
We will always fear it, but the thing about fear is a paralyzer. We won't do anything about it. If anyone out there actually genuinely believes that humanity is going to somehow come out of this better, having learned something and wanting to improve,
no.
You're looking at the wrong population.
Are going to be better. I think
but they will be drowned out by the vast majority.
Is going to change,
but not for the better.
In some countries, it will. From a scientific point of view, and the planet being better scientifically organizing ourselves to mass do things, in that element, we're going to be better. But generally speaking, we're definitely not going to be better.
I have to say I disagree. I don't think this virus, I think the greatest impact of this virus is going to be how many plaques and headstones there are around the world, and that's going to be it. It's a blip in human history. We do not learn from our mistakes as a species. And the problem is, I guarantee you, in 100 years or so, the only people who will even know about this virus and the impact of it will be historians and possibly the odd microbiologist.
So I don't know,
because that's what the Spanish flu is now. People know of it because they've heard of it vaguely. They've read about it in history, and scientists know about it, and that's it. We haven't even found a cure for Spanish flu
maybe because I love the science, I know about it. So
yeah, no, but the
maybe
thing
I'm too
is,
positive.
The thing is, we haven't found the cure for Spanish flu yet. Why? Because we were so relieved that we survived it, we pushed it to the back of our minds and ignored it. We didn't bother to learn the lesson from it. And that is very telling about what humanity is. Now, this is a very pessimistic outlook and very cynical. But I can't honestly believe humanity has changed that much in 100 years that we are going to do anything radically different than we did after the Spanish flu.
So,
and our world governments right now, dude, if we're dependent on our world governments to be better than we were after the Spanish flu, it's not going to happen, because we had some of the best world governments after the First and Second World War, and nothing was done.
And America might end up a bit better depending on how how hard Congress is hit.
The main impact of this, if any, is going to be political, and how many people it's going to turn into socialists.
Yeah.
Or people who think they understand socialism. But
do you realize that despite how badly Trump's handled it in the US, this will probably give him his next term?
I don't think it will. I think people are beginning to see through it. I think he's going to get his next term regardless.
Generally survive elections in crisis.
Nope.
Well, also,
I think he's gonna. He had his next term regardless. I think Corona makes no difference whatsoever.
Well,
and he's doing his damnedest to make sure that instead of the standard government check, every check is signed by him.
Well, if every check's signed by him, the only person who signs a check is the person who's paying it out. So it better be coming from his personal bank account. That's all I've got to say on that. I work for a bank. Don't tell me the rules about checks. I know them.
Yeah.
You want your signature on a check, you damn well better be the person paying it out.
Yeah.
Now, if he's got a few trillion or whatever it is to pay every American, what is it he's saying, like $2,000? Have at it, dude. But
1,200 for single people, and they can go up to like 2,400.
Hang on, people are losing their jobs. People are going to be off work for anything up to 3 months, and he thinks $1,200 is going to cover that. That's not even a month's salary for most people.
And
he's spinning this as a positive.
And Republican senators were, some Republican senators were complaining that it would incentivize people not to work because it's more than they make.
It's not even a sticking plaster on a bullet wound. That will not pay for most people to be able to afford to eat at the end of 3 months.
Oh, and and the big corporations are getting collectively $304 billion.
Yeah, well,
but
of course they are.
At least it has the asterisk where where they're not allowed to fire anyone because of COVID.
Yeah, but good luck proving that you were fired because of COVID.
Yeah.
You'll be fired because of absence, or you'll be fired because you were unreliable, or you'll be fired for some other contrived reason that is tangentially related. Because you people aren't unionized and don't have...
Yeah, I read the bill and it says if you fire anyone, you have to pay the money back.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
They'll find other ways around it. You know what corporations are like? They'll find a loophole. There'll be a loophole written into it. I've just thought of one off the top of my head. So there will be one.
All
right.
Yeah. Trumpists are calling socialist ideas Americanism now. Unbelievable how they do mental gymnastics.
Dear Americans, it is on your law books that you are not allowed to have a socialist government. You are royally stuffed and you've done it to yourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, I'm going to head off and head to bed.
Go ahead and shill yourself, Jen.
Oh, I'm Jen for Jen's Little Corner. You guys all know me. If you want to know more about Interstellar and how Jordan is a dipshit and doesn't understand movies at all, go and check out my movie about spirit science and Interstellar. My movie?
Your video.
My video.
Go sleep, Jen. Go sleep.
Aside from sorry?
I pet you. You need to sleep.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That'll do me.
Take care, Jen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bye.
But yeah, go watch that video. It's what got me to make this a topic.
Yeah. Oh, what are we doing next week?
I'm not sure.
What did we say during it? Inception.
Or The Prestige.
No, definitely The Prestige. I love The Prestige.
Okay.
Prestige next week. Okay.
Yeah. Next week on Media Musings, The Prestige. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, it's up to you whether you want to carry on or whether you just want to call it a day.
Yeah, go ahead and shill yourself, Hissy.
Okay. Yeah, off the cuff, why not? I'm Hissy. I am Mrs. Ring. I also have my own channel now, Hissy's Hideaway. So do pop round. Plenty of coffee and nice and cozy for anyone who fancies joining me. I only have the one actually recorded video up at the moment, but I'm working on it, and you'll find more information about what my interests are and where I'm going with it on there. But largely, I'm going to be pretty much over there as I am on these streams and things like that. So if you like me here, you'll like me over there. Come and say hello. You're always welcome.
And odds are I'll probably be popping in occasionally.
Yeah, I'm going to drag him in kicking and screaming whether he likes it or not.
Yeah. Also, every Saturday, both of us are on the Daily Atheist Dungeons and Dragons. I run the game, and she plays a Dragonborn Ranger.
Oh, and my snake's name is Jesus.
Yeah.
So if you want to see how Jesus navigates the Dark Continent and bites a lot of people, come and watch D&D.
Yeah.
You're awesome too, dude. Stay safe.
Yes, you are awesome, dude.
So I think that's most of my shilling. You can also find me on Twitter as Danger Hisse and a bunch of other places too. I have a blog. I currently have a Corona Team blog going, although I've not updated it in a day or so. Again, the link to that is on my Twitter. It's also on my first video. So by all means, check that out if you like. It's a very raw, very real, very uncompromising look at how it actually feels to be in lockdown. I'm a historian. It's my duty to keep records when things like this are happening, and that's my response to that. As with anything, there are various trigger warnings in place. I do try and make it obvious when a particular post is particularly hard hitting or otherwise, but do just be aware it's designed to be honest. So please do just take care of yourself with that. And the what else have I got to show? I write fan fiction. I'm over on AO3 as Hissy the Danger Noodle with my fantastic co-writer Hikate's Kiss. If you've liked Snarry, come and check it out. Dead Dove, do not eat. Always read the warnings. They're there for a reason, and it's definitely an 18+ account over there, so do be careful.
And as for me, well, you're here, so you know my channel. So instead of a recorded video, I'm going to do a birthday live stream on Tuesday because it's my birthday. On Saturday, I will be appearing on Jay's channel, the Nevermore Tavern, where I'll be debating whether or not I'll be debating Monty Python and the Holy Grail, whether it's more inspired by Don Quixote or actual Arthurian lore. I'm on the Don Quixote side. And once again, next week will be the Prestige. And the week after that, we will be taking a week off because I'm going to be running an Easter Lich fight.
Cool.
So until next time, remember, indoctrination is a hell of a selfie stick.
Take care, be good, and if you can't be good, be careful.